Good morning. Welcome. It's December. I feel like I've lost all track of time. I'm just like floating in the ether when it comes to time and days. And it snowed yesterday, which some of us are happy and some of us aren't. And it's been cold. So I don't know if you guys notice it in your body. I definitely notice it in mine. The cold makes me contract and it makes my hips feel like they ache a little more. I feel it through my shoulders and as everything kind of curves in because you're cold and you're trying to stay warm more often. And so these are the spaces that we're going to work this morning. We're going to focus on some shoulder release and some hip release, primarily with the idea of mobility, because as it's cold and snowy and icy, we have that issue with trying not to slip on the ice when we walk. We're outside shoveling, so that brings in core, hips, and upper body, particularly through the shoulders, through the hips, making sure that we have that freedom to move. So those are the spaces we're focusing on today. We're definitely going to need blocks too if you have them, and we're going to start with the block. We're going to come down into a supported bridge to arrive. So come all the way down your back. Bend the knees so the feet find the mat. Tuck under your shoulders and then press up enough that you can find the block underneath your sacrum. And then let the weight of the hips come down supported. Now you can stay right here with the knees bent and the feet on the floor, but if you feel good, it might be too much to start, but if it would feel good, you can play with walking your feet away, even extending them. That really starts to open through the hips, but it also brings a great deal of back bend into the low back space. So just be mindful because we're just looking to arrive. And with the arms, let's take them either up overhead, whether they're parallel or they're open in a V, or maybe you cactus the elbows and draw them out to the side. Just a space where we can let the shoulders start to release and open up a little bit. And then take a big breath here. And when you let it go through the mouth or the nose, soften through the face. So feel this forehead smooth, the eyes relax. Start to let your inner eye walk through your body and notice what feels sore or tight, where there's tension hiding. But also notice what feels good. And we're going to be mindful with the breath as we arrive here. So let the inhales be full. We're going to breathe into the belly and then let it rise up through the ribs so we feel them expand. Breathe up into the heart space and maybe you adjust the head so you can move the chin away from the chest. And then each exhale, we get a little bit softer here. If your shoulders are feeling really tight or sore or lacking in that ability to move easily, you can place props underneath them. You can play here with even moving out into a T so that you open from the chest through the bicep. I'm going to take 3 more cycles of breath here, so let them be mindful as the belly rises and you breathe up through that 3-part breath right up to the top of the lungs. Maybe you even pause there, containing the energy. When it feels like it's time, you let the breath go. This is the last round of breath. So on the exhale, try and exhale completely so that you feel the whole front line of the body. Feel like it's collapsing down towards the spine, the base of the neck, the space between the shoulders might feel heavier towards the floor. If the knees are long, so the legs are extended, take a moment here to slowly walk the legs back so the knees are bent and the feet come to the mat. If the arms are anywhere but along your sides, use a breath to bring them back down. And if you are on a level higher than 1 on your block, let's adjust that. So you're going to press into your feet just enough to turn your block down onto its lowest level and place it underneath your sacrum so that it's in a really supported, comfortable place. It's not into the low back. You don't feel like you're slipping off. We're going to bring the right knee in towards the body. And maybe you adjust now on your block so you feel really supported. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Let's take the left leg long into a hover. Flex the foot so the toes draw towards the top of the mat. And we're just opening through the top of the left hip and through the glutes and the hamstring on the right knee. Maybe you have space to start to draw the knee towards the outside of the ribs so there's space for the breath to happen. And then if you're able to keep the left foot hovering, great. If you prefer to let it drop down to the floor, that's okay too. We're going to make circles with this right knee. So use your hands to find the outer edges of the mobility you have through your hip socket. So if you're like me, I have short arms. I have more space to move through my hip than my arm can reach. So just use your hand to guide. And you're going to feel your core come in because we're going to try not to rock on the block. We're going to try to stay stable and just let the movement happen in the hip socket. Whatever direction you're moving, take one more breath. And on the inhale, the knee comes towards the body. We're going to change direction. And when you change direction, you might notice that the space or the movement through the hip changes as you find restriction, tight spaces, maybe old injuries. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just be mindful of them. They help to inform your practice. Let's take one more breath. Next time you inhale, the knee comes back towards the chest. Now, if the left foot is still hovering, bend the knee and put that foot on the floor. We're going to extend the right leg up into the air. Flex the foot so you're leading from the heel. And move the leg without the use of your hands towards your face as much as you can. This is going to engage through your core. You're going to feel it in the quadricep and down into your hip socket. The hands can come down here to help you on the floor, palms down. Take a big breath. And now let the shoulders melt down because you might find yourself rounding them up away from the floor. Let them come back down to the floor. Take a big inhale here, and then we're going to start to let the foot drop out to the side. We want the hips to stay square on the block, and you want to keep reaching the toes upward. So you're going to start to feel this towards the inside line of the leg. Keep moving the foot towards the top of the mat. Your hands are helping stabilize. Take a big breath here. And then inhale very, very slowly. We bring it back so that we're trying to put the foot on top of the ceiling. We're going to do that one more time. Keep the shoulders melting down towards your mat. Inhale, reach through the heel, flex the toes. Exhale, keep moving the toes towards the top of the mat, and then the leg comes out to the side. Lots of muscle engagement here. Inhale, come back. Beautiful. Bend the knee, draw the knee in towards the chest, give it a little bit of a squeeze, and we're going to switch. So that right leg comes long to a hover, flex the foot and lead through the heel. The left foot comes in towards the body. So draw the knee to the chest. Just gentle opening here to start. And maybe this left knee has space to start to move towards the outside of the ribs so that you still have space for breath as it gets closer to the body. And you can keep your right leg hovering, or you can let it drop down towards the floor, whatever feels best, or make circles with the left leg. So use your hands again to guide, doesn't matter which direction you start in. But try and move slow, because we can move really fast, right? Like you're stirring something, but it jostles the body and you don't get the opportunity to really explore the full range that you have through the hip socket. And moving slower brings a little bit more core work in. One more breath. On the inhale, we're going to bring the knee towards the body and then change direction. And again, noticing those simple differences in the motion through the hip. One more breath. Knee comes into the chest. The right leg, let's bend the knee and put the foot on the floor. We're going to stem the left foot up into the air, flex the toes. Let the hands come down. They're going to ground you, palms down. And we're moving the toes towards the top of their mat, like you're trying to touch them above your head. We're going to drop the leg out to the side, just like on the other side. Just take a big breath in with the shoulders secure down to the floor. And then as you exhale, we start to slowly let the leg drop out to the side, but we keep that motion of moving it towards the top of the mat. Pause wherever your hip stops. Take a breath here. Inhale, we bring it back. Try and keep the flex in the foot, lead through the heel. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reach through the heel, flex the toes. And then exhale, we're going to drop the leg out to the side, trying not to rock on the hips, leave them level and secure to your block. Inhale, drawing back up. Beautiful. Bring the knee into the chest, give yourself a squeeze. Both knees can come up. Starting to feel the opening through the hips. You're moving around here, whatever feels good. The feet come back down to the floor. We're going to remove the block. So very gently press into the feet enough to take it away and just set it aside. Let's bring knees to chest. We can rock. And we're going to rock and roll up towards hands and knees. So find your way there. Coming in towards the center of the mat. We're going to bring the wrists under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Take some cat and cow here. So spread your fingers wide. Press the palms down into the floor. Really press the floor away so you feel your shoulders moving towards the floor, away from the spine. And then we're going to leave the spine neutral here. I just want you to move through the shoulders. Squeeze the shoulders blades back and drop your heart down. So the head and neck come with. Press the floor away. So just a cat-cow through the shoulder without rounding the spine. And then drop the heart below the shoulders. Squeeze the shoulders back. One more. Press the floor away. Move the shoulders forward. And then come to that neutral spine. Let's take a regular cat and cow. So drop the core this time. Heart lifts, tailbone lifts. Exhale, we round. Can move the head and neck if that feels good. Squeezing the shoulders, dropping into cow on our inhale. Rounding down. On the exhale, let's do one more like that. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades, heart shines forward. Exhale, round. Let's take a moment here, rounded. Maybe you shift forward and back. Can move your head and neck if that releases some tension there. And we're going to shift back into child's pose. So bring the big toes to touch. Take the knees wide. Send the hips way back. And then walk the hands forward so we can traction the spine. We're going to take some striking cobra. We're going to come into our core work. And then we're going to start our flow. So let the hands come down towards the floor. And shift forward into hands and knees for a moment. Bring the knees back underneath the hips. Take the hips back into a more traditional child's pose. With your inhale, we're going to round up through cat. We're going to shift forward into the knee plank. Bring your chin away from your chest so your spine is long. Let's take a push-up here. So we're going to lower down, keep the elbows in towards the body if you can. Press the floor away. Beautiful. Let's come all the way down. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Find your first cobra. So you could be really close to the floor and baby. You could start to lift the heart up. You can shift and move so this feels good through the spine. Exhale, lower down. Press the floor away, round back to child's. Inhale, let's round back up, true cat. Shift back into our knee plank. Take a moment here. Press the floor away. Feel really strong. Engage your core. Chin away from the chest. Option for your push-up. So coming down, pressing the floor away. And then let's lower all the way down with control. Squeeze your shoulder blades back, finding a little bit higher cobra than maybe you were just a moment ago. Take an inhale and lift the heart. Exhale, lower down. Press the floor away, round back to child's. We're going to do one more. Inhale, round. Shift the plank. Pause here for a moment. Lower all the way down. Then skip the push-up. Come up into your fullest child's pose. Or sorry, first cobra here. So squeeze the shoulder blades back. Lift the heart. Exhale, lower down. Okay, so we're going to come into our dolphins. We've been working into dolphin pose for the last month or so. You have the option of taking this from tabletop version, so which would mean we start in hands and knees and come to forearms. We're going to take our dolphins from here, or you can take your dolphins from forearm plank with the toes tucked and your hands are either down or interlace the fingers, whatever version feels better for the hand setup for you. And we're looking for 10, but remember you can do 1, you can do every other, every third, you can skip them all together. This is a building process for you, so be mindful of your energy this morning and be kind to yourself if last week you did 10 and this week you do 5. It's the effort that matters, not the number. So let's set up in our choice. We're going to take a big breath in and come either to tabletop or into our forearm plank. Take a breath. With your inhale, you're going to lift the hips back, press into the forearms, and move the heart towards either the toes or the knees. We're going to pause here. I want you to really feel this through the shoulders. So press into the forearms and the palms or the pinkies if your hands are interlaced. See if you can get your hips a little bit higher. Take a big breath. I know, lots of core, lots of arms. Inhale forward. That's 1. Take the hips back. Press, press, press. You want to keep moving your heart back. Coming forward is 2. Hips back. Coming forward is 3. Inhale back. Exhale forward. There's 4. Taking the hips up. Move through the heart. Come forward. 5. Hips back. Coming forward. 6. Hips come back. We come to our plank. 7. Lift and shift. Come forward. 8. 2 more if you're with me. Inhale back. Exhale forward. 1 more, fight for it. Inhale. Beautiful. Really open through the shoulders. Come forward. Don't let go just yet. Now come all the way down to the mat. So if you're on, have tucked toes, take them out. Bring the chin down to hands. Take a breath here. Beautiful work. Now feel this through the shoulders. Dolphin's a lot of core, but it's also really strong through the shoulders and the biceps. It's a great whole body movement to maybe add to your mornings. We're going to take one more breath here. We're going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to press back to tabletop. We're going to come back to child's pose. And I want you to keep a wide child's pose. So take knees wide, toes touch. Shift the hips back. Now I want you to put your elbows on the floor and bring your hands to prayer. Drop the head towards the mat. And if your head doesn't come towards the mat easily, then you can put a block beneath it. We're going to take some opening through the back of the arms. We're going to start to bring the hands towards the space behind your shoulders as we settle into this child's pose just for a few breaths. And if you're thinking, I don't feel a ton here, you can always place blocks under the elbows that lifts up the body and gives your heart more space to drop towards the floor. Let's just take one more full breath here, wherever you happen to be. We're going to move the hands away from the shoulders, so start to lengthen the arms. You can lose the prayer as that happens. If you have blocks beneath your elbows, just move them to the sides. We're going to come up into Seiza, so you might need to shift forward and bring your knees together, and then we're going to sit back on our heels. And if this shape, sitting back on your heels, is not accessible for you for any reason at all, you can come right down to sit, or you can place a block or two beneath your sit bones between your feet. It lifts up, takes some of the compression out of your knees. We're just going to take a moment to release to the shoulders. So we're going to take the hands in behind the back, interlace the fingers. We're going to take a heart bind, and if drawing the knuckles down doesn't feel good through your shoulder joint, it doesn't have that range of motion, you can take opposite wrists or towards opposite elbows and squeeze the shoulder blades back as we take this movement. So interlace fingers, start to squeeze the shoulder blades back as you draw the knuckles down so that you're lengthening the arms. Your chin can be towards your chest, or you can start to lift it if it feels safe for your neck. And you really open up this space. You might feel the defixation through the shoulders, and the vertebrae of the neck into the top of the spine can feel really delicious in the morning. So inhale, if you have this spine, you might move the hands away from the low back, open up the heart even more on a big inhale. Exhale, soften wherever you are, and release the hands. We're going to bring the left hand up so the arm is along the ear. Bend the elbow. We're looking to place the palm between the shoulder blades or in that general vicinity. And the right hand is going to come up and take hold of the elbow. Now, some of us have really open shoulders here through the chest, and you can do this. If you find yourself rounding forward and your chin tucking, then just work into a space maybe you're intending. So we can still keep this space open and your shoulder blades moving towards the spine. We're looking to open through the outside of the left into the bicep. Maybe you start to walk that hand down between the space between your shoulder blades. See if you can keep lifting your chin and moving the arms backwards to open. Slow breath here. And whether you're on knees or seated, Let's inhale and then take a little bit of a side bend with this arm bind here. And it might be a tiny, tiny little movement because now it's really going to reach into the space of the upper arm, the tricep, the bicep. Slow breath. Inhale, we're going to come back through center. Try not to release the arms. Now your right arm, reach it up to the sky. Bring it behind your back. So you're going to bend the elbow and reach that hand towards wherever your left palm is. So some of us can bind the fingers here. Most of us probably can't. If you have a strap or something, you can always bring that in, but we don't really need to do that right now. We're just moving through the shoulders. We're not trying to find that bind. We're just opening. So inhale, squeeze your shoulders back just a little bit, open through the heart. And then on your exhale, let's slowly release all of it. So the right hand drops, the left hand's gonna come down. Oh, wiggle the fingers. You're gonna feel that release into the side of the neck, the shoulder, right down into the palm of your hand. Let's do the other side. So the right arm's gonna come right up along the ear. We're gonna bend at the elbow so the hand is looking towards the space between the shoulder blades. Here, right away, you're going to notice there's a big difference from side to side. Let's take the left hand, we're going to reach it all the way up, and it's looking for the elbow on the right. Maybe it finds it, maybe it doesn't, maybe you're intending, so either is okay. If you find that rounding happening and chin tucking, then maybe you're intending. You want to try and keep everything open so that you can reach into these spaces rather than contracting them. Just take some slow breath here. And this is really where you start to notice the changes and the differences from side to side, especially in the accessibility of movement through your shoulder joint. One more breath. We're going to take this into a little side bend. So take an inhale to get tall, and an exhale, we just tip, maybe just a tiny little movement. Maybe you have more space. You want to let it be a side bend, so don't collapse forward. And we're trying not to twist. Only until you feel that sensation into the tricep, bicep, and breathe there. And then with an inhale, we're going to come back to center. Leave the right hand where it is. Left hand reaches up and then comes down. We're going to bend that elbow and reach it up into the lower face of the back. So just like we did on the other side, this cow face spine. You might be really close on this side. You might be way farther away. That's okay. It doesn't matter. Just a few breaths right here. Open up through the heart. So let just everything move back. The elbows move back. Shoulders move towards the spine. Take a big breath. And then let's let it go on the exhale. Move slow. Wiggle fingers. You can move to the neck. Bring some movement through the shoulders, whatever maybe feels like it needs to happen. And that's a shoulder movement you can do easily anytime when you're sitting at your desk, when you're on the sofa. It can really help to release a lot of tension through the upper body. Okay, let's come towards hands and knees. Hands down, hips over the knees. Let's tuck the toes under and slowly make our way into our first downward facing dog. So send the hips back with a really strong bend in your knees. Let's open up through the shoulders first. So you're moving your heart towards those big toes. Squeeze the thighs in together and get your hips nice and high. The chin moves away from the chest. Big breath here. And then we can start to either pedal this out really gently, one leg at a time, nice and slow with breath, or you just start to let your heels get heavy. You never have to lose the bend in the knees. We want to keep the length in the upper body and the heart moving back towards the big toes. Take a breath here. And if your feet are farther apart, bring them a little bit closer. We're going to rise up onto toes here. So press the base of every toe down firmly into the floor and get your hips as high as you can. And if the chin came in towards the chest when you did that, move it away so the ears come between the biceps. Really pressing the heart towards the toes, keeping the shoulders open. On an inhale, pause. Exhale, we're going to roll forward into our plank. So as you come into plank, maybe you have to adjust a little bit. And you can choose to keep the knees lifted or let them come to the floor. Either way, the shoulders are over the wrists and the chin is away from the chest. Take a breath. We're going to add toe taps here. And you can do this from knees or from toes. We're going to take the right foot out to the side, tap the toe, bring it back in. Left foot comes out to the side, and then bring it back in. We're going to lower all the way down to the mat. Squeeze the shoulder blades back and find a cobra. Back down. Let's press all the way back to child's pose. So round through cat, hips back to child's. Shift forward into table, toes tuck under, downward facing dog. We're going to take the gaze between the hands. Let's walk all the way up towards the top of the mat and take a ragdoll hold here. So bend in the knees, let everything hang from the hip sockets. You can shift and move any way you like. And if you're moving now, come to stillness at the center. Let's bend the knees a lot. Come all the way up to stand. Maybe a baby back bend would feel good, and you can open through the shoulders when you do that. Exhale, bring hands to heart. So let's take any adjustments that we maybe need to make. A sip of water if you like. And then we're going to start a little bit of a new flow. And it's completely focused on hips and shoulders. You might want to bring your blocks towards the top of your mat, just so they're there. You might not need them at all, but they're just nice to have. So we're going to start in mountain pose. Feet are grounding down. Feel the base of the big toe engage to the floor. Bring hands back to heart. We're taking an inhale, reach the hands up. Exhale, hinge all the way down into our fold. Let's come up into our flat back, so hands are either on the mat or they're rising at the chin. Squeeze the shoulder blades back and move the chin away from the chest. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees a lot. Let's come to stand, reach for the sky. We're going to fold all the way down on our exhale. Inhale, come to flat back. Exhale, fold. We're going to bend the knees a lot so the hands come to the mat. Step the right foot back into a runner's lunge. We haven't spent time here in our runner's lunge in a while, so we're going to do that. That's a really great space to open. So you're going to press the right heel back. This left knee is over the ankle on the front foot. You can bring blocks under the hands if the floor feels far away, because it's been a while since we've just kind of settled in here. Lift the heart forward and keep the gaze mostly down. Slow, deep breath. One more. We're going to step the front foot back to downward facing dog. So find that really beautiful down dog again. Spread the fingers, start the heart moving towards the big toes, and let the heels start to get heavy with the hips high, wherever you are. We're going to take this into a three-legged dog, so make sure you feel really good and structured here. We're going to put the weight into the left foot and take the right foot up into the air. We're going to bend the knee and open the side. So the foot's coming like it's going to touch the top of your head. You're opening up the hips, so you're feeling this twist. When you do that, you're going to notice your right shoulder lift. See if you can leave the legs as they are now and start to square your shoulders a little more towards the floor. It's going to bring more twist in. They don't have to square right down. It's just an intention. You start to feel the way this changes in the body. Slow breath. We're going to keep the knee bent and bring the hips square. I'm going to circle forward through the hips. So just like we did when we were on the floor, press into the hands, keep the hips moving backwards. We're going to circle through the hip socket, slow breath, lots of challenge. You got core, you've got quads working, glutes working, arms working. One more. Bring it forward and then take it high. We're going to step this forward into our runner's lunge. So bring the knee forward, step between the hands. Help it if it needs. One more breath right here. Back foot's going to step forward. Find your fold. Bend the knees a lot. Come up to stand. Let's exhale to heart. Inhale, we'll take it back up. Starting to feel some warmth on that leg. Exhale, fold down. We're going to balance the other side. Let's come to flat back. So squeeze the shoulder blades back. Feel the core engage. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees a lot so the hands find the mat. Left foot steps back this time into our runner's lunge. We were just here a moment ago, but we didn't spend time. So press the heel back so the back leg is as long as it can be. Sometimes we find that bend happening in the knee. It actually brings a lot of stress into the quadricep and the hip. So press the heel back, get long so you really start to open through the front of the thigh and the hip. And then on this leg, the knees over the ankle. Blocks can be under hands. Take a breath here. Let the hips start to open. And then we're going to step the front foot back all the way to downward facing dog. Again, find your down dog that feels really good. So spread the fingers, heart moves towards the toes, hips are really, really high. We're going to shift the weight into the right foot this time and lift the left foot up into the air for our three-legged dog. And then we're going to twist this. So bend the left knee and that toe is looking like it's trying to touch the top of your head. Open the hip up. And then notice that your left shoulder probably lifted and see if you can, with some intention, start to let it be heavy back towards the mat. Slow breath. Now we're going to keep the knee bent, but square the hips off. So the shoulders square as well, and then circle the knee forward so we're moving through the hip socket. Let's take one more circle forward, and then lengthen the leg back up into three-legged dog. We're going to bring that knee forward and step between the hands. Runner's lunge. Help it if it needs. Take a few breaths right here. Then let's step the back foot forward. Take our fold. Bend the knees a lot. Come all the way to stand. Exhale through heart. Take an opportunity to make any adjustments that we maybe need. And we're going to add on to our flow. Take an inhale, reach up. Hinge and fold all the way down. Let's come to flat back. We're going to bend the knees a lot, hands to the floor, right foot back, runner's lunge. Take a breath here. Extended pyramid. So maybe blocks come under the hands right now. We're going to lengthen a little bit or a lot the front knees and the hips back. Take a breath right here. Inhale, come forward, runner's lunge. We're going to step the foot back, downward facing dog. Let's rise up onto toes. We're going to take a vinyasa, so you can choose to bring it in or leave it out. Roll forward into your plank, knees up or down. Let's take those toe taps. Right foot out to the side and back. Left out to the side and back. Beautiful. Lower all the way to the floor. Find your version of Cobra. Maybe you start to move into up dog, if that would feel great. Exhale, let's lower down. We're going to move through tabletop or plank in a push-up and find our way back to downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Let's shift the weight into the left foot. Take the right leg up into three-legged dog. Point the toe, lift that leg as high as it'll go. Really feel the shoulders open. Move through your hip. Maybe the hip opens a little bit. That's okay. Take a big breath here. We're going to bring the knee forward and step between the hands. Runner's lunge. Help the foot if it needs it. Settle in. We're going to twist this. So maybe there's a block under your hand. Left hand comes to the floor. Inhale the right hand up into the air. Press through the back heel so that leg is long and open the heart and the shoulder. Maybe you have lots of space to twist and you twist a little bit more. Exhale, the hand comes down to the floor. Okay, we're going to switch this. So now your right hand's going to come to the inside of your foot. The back foot turns onto an angle, and we're going to twist this into a right angle twist. So maybe there's a block under the right hand. Inhale the left hand up into the air. Full deep breath right here. Really feel it through the shoulders. Now you also feel it in the hips. Exhale, bring that hand back down towards the floor. Then we're going to come onto the back toes and lift this up into our crescent lunge. So maybe you frame the foot forward to get balance and then fight for it, lift it up, crescent lunge. Take a big breath here. Now drop the hands along the side of the body. Lean just a little bit. Now as you do, press into the back toe so that your back leg gets long. And maybe you can sink down into this lunge a little bit. You're really going to feel it on the hip. And then see if you can inhale and lift the heart, leaving the leg long. If it doesn't work, then you bend it. But sometimes that helps you really open up your lunge, challenging your balance and your core here. Let's inhale the arms up into the air. Goddess arms. So squeeze the elbows to the sides, shoulders back, big hands. Inhale into the heart space. Use your core to keep you here. Exhale, let's lean it. Reach the hands alongside and back. Lean the heart forward. We're going to windmill this into warrior two. So you lead with the left hand, back foot turns onto an angle. Sink into your warrior. Legs are tired. It's okay. This can be a really gentle lunge where you can really sink in, whatever feels best. Front palm turns up. Reverse your warrior. Drop the back arm. Reach up and over. Maybe that other arm comes across the back, whatever feels good. If there's space, you've been opening up the sides and the shoulders. Breathe here. Inhale back through warrior two. Let's take this into right angle. So we bend the front arm. That forearm comes above the knee as we lean. Back arm reaches up and over. The arm is along the bicep. The bicep is along the ear, and the hand is facing down. Now open up that shoulder, twist the heart open. Big deep breath here. Left hand reaches for the sky. Let's turn this into our triangle. So the arm that's above your knee, it's simply going to drop down as you start to find the length in the front leg. You sink right into your triangle. Depth is not the goal here. Wherever your hand happens to land, maybe it's inside the knee, the shin, the ankle, doesn't matter. As long as this feels strong and open and available to you as we pause here to breathe. Take the gaze down to that front foot. We're going to bring a bend into the knee and lift this up into warrior two. We're going to straighten the front leg, drop your arms. We're going to turn this into our pyramid pose. So we're going to step the back foot to the side and point both toes towards the front of your mat. So you feel like you're on cross-country skis rather than being on a tight line. And often in pyramid pose, especially we're fatigued now, if your legs feel a little shaky, you might want to shorten your stance. Your blocks here can be really helpful. You got 3 levels on them, so you might want to bring them to frame your front foot. You can always place them and move them down or away if you feel like you don't need them. Let's start with hands on hips. We're going to squeeze the shoulder blades back, tuck the tailbone down so that we feel really tall and aligned. Inhale through the heart. And on the exhale, ground the feet, send the hips back. As you reach the heart forward, we're going to fold until we can't come to a flat back anymore. So as soon as you start to round, that's where your hamstrings and your hips are telling you to pause. So come towards where your flat back is. Keep moving your shoulders back and your chin away from your chest. Now, when you get to that spot, wherever it is, I want you're going to notice that your right hip swung out. Bring it in line and feel like you're suctioning your thigh bone into your hip socket. Maybe you suddenly have a little bit more space. If this is really stressing the front leg, make sure there's a little bend. Take a breath here. Use your core, your glutes, lift all the way back up. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, lift out of the hips. Start to fold this forward. Remember, we're not rounding here. Send the hips back. When you get to that spot, square them off. Suction the thigh bone into the hip socket. Take a big breath. On your exhale, now let's change this into something softer. So maybe you step that back foot back a little bit. Let's just start to fold the upper body over the front leg. But still, notice if your hip swings way out to the side, we want to keep drawing that thigh bone into the hip socket. And just really relax here. How deep you get, it's not about what it looks like, right? No one can see us, we're at home. It's about how it feels. So you're going to come to that space where your hips and your hamstrings still feel really good as you approach that stronger, maybe upper spaces of your edge. But don't push. This is a space where you can very quickly go from, I can do that, to, oh, I just did something I didn't want to do, right? You don't want to injure yourself. So support yourself here. And maybe as we breathe and we spend this little bit of time here, you notice that you're starting to sink. The more you can relax, the deeper you start to get. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Now, to come out, you have a choice. If your hands are supported on something, see if you can bring a stronger bend into your knee. And if you can, we're going to just slide right down into a runner's lunge. So you just kind of move your back foot back. Let this feel good here for a moment. Maybe you shift and move a little bit. We're going to bring that back foot forward into our standing fold. Got one more side to do. Bend the knees a lot. Let's come up. Take your time. Bring the hands down to heart. We're going to move to the other side. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Just being really gentle with yourself as we move through this last cycle. Come to your flat back. And fold down. Bend the knees a lot. We're going to bring the hands to the floor, set the left foot back into runner's lunge. Take a breath here. Let's turn this into our extended pyramid. So lengthen and then just come forward. We're going to step back into downward facing dog. Heart comes towards the toes. Should be more space now. This should start feeling easily accessible or more accessible flexibility wise. Maybe fatigue is starting to play. Let's rise up onto toes. Unroll forward into your plank, knees up or down. We're going to take our toe taps, right side and left side. Let's lower all the way down. Find your Cobra. Come down. Tabletop or push up. Down dog. Okay, weight into the right foot, left foot up. Press the foot nice and high, maybe the hip lifts. We're gonna step that foot forward, so bring the knee forward, the foot comes between the hands, help it if it needs. Your blocks are close by too. Take a breath right here. And then let's twist this. So the right hand to the floor, inhale, left hand up. Exhale down. This time the left hand's gonna come inside the foot, the back foot's gonna come onto an angle. Inhale, open into this right angle twist. Exhale, the hand comes down. Maybe you frame that front foot, come onto the back toes. We're gonna move into our crescent lunge. So feel really grounded, and when you're ready, you're gonna lift up into your lunge. Hands can reach high. Then we're gonna lean this forward, right? So we're gonna reach the hands back, heart comes forward. Now press the back heel towards the back of the mat. So you get length in this leg. And then sink into the front knee. See if you can come up a little bit into your lunge. Beautiful. Elbows back, squeeze, goddess arms. And then reach forward in that lean, hands come alongside, squeeze the shoulder blades back. Coming into that warrior two, so windmill, turn on the back angle of the back foot, sink into your warrior, take a breath. Reverse warrior, front palm turns up. Take this back, side bend, feel this through the shoulders. Inhale back through warrior two, and then we're gonna transition into our right angle. So bend the front arm above the knee, comes down, back hand up and over so the bicep is by the ear, and then twist open. Triangle, reach the top hand up. And then as you start to lengthen the front leg, that inner arm comes down. Remember, there's no specific place for that bottom hand to land. The gaze can be down all the way to up, anywhere that feels good. Slow breath. The gaze comes down to the front foot. We're gonna bend in that front knee, come up into the warrior two, let go of your arms, lengthen the front leg. We're gonna step this back foot out, coming into our pyramid on the other side. So you're gonna come out to the side, you're on cross-country skis. Maybe you set your blocks back up for this side. Take a moment to set yourself up, hands on the hips, squeeze your shoulder blades back, draw your tailbone down so you feel your core and your ribs come under the shoulders. Inhale up, we're gonna hinge forward from the hips. So the hips move back, the heart moves forward. You're looking for that flat back, squeeze the shoulder blades back. Feel the tip through the hips. When you can't come to flat anymore, you pause there. Now suction the thigh bone into the hip. Slow breath. Inhale, use your core and your legs, bring you back up. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, we hinge. Squeeze the shoulders back. Pause wherever you start to feel yourself lose that flat back. Suction the thigh bone into the hip so the hips square. Now let's soften. So hands can come to blocks, to the floor, micro bend in the front knee. Maybe you move the back foot back a little bit as you start to fold this down. And if you felt your hips swing out to the side, bring them back in line, suction that thigh bone into the hip socket. You're gonna feel your right hip draw forward because your left hip's gonna draw back. Slow breath here. Now, as you're sinking in and breathing, maybe you notice your depth start to change as you get comfortable here. Just 3 more breaths. Last one. We're going to start to bring a bend into the front knee. Release it. You can pause there if it feels really good as you let that go. We're going to find our way to bringing our back knee down. And then the other leg joins it. Let's come back either to Seiza or Child's Pose. Just take a breath here. We're going to make our way onto our back. So if you're going to take anything for your Shavasana when we get there, you might want to grab that now. Just going to find some release for the outer hips. So bring the knees to chest, roll yourself down. You can roll across the low back. Let it feel good to be lying down, knowing all the hard stuff is done. Let both feet come to the floor. We're going to take a supine cow face or a supine shoelace in yin. So we're going to cross the right leg over the left. Pick the knees up towards the chest and move your feet towards the outside edges of your mat. You're going to take your hands and reach for whatever you can find. So upper shins, maybe ankles, maybe feet, whatever is available. As you start to draw the knees a little more in towards the body, you're going to feel this more in the outside of your right hip. Now, you can start to rock a little bit. And not necessarily like rock and roll like you would with knees to chest, but just move really mindful side to side. And all of a sudden, you're going to find a spot where you're like right there. Really reaches into the outside line of the hip, into the glute, into the thigh a little bit even. And maybe you pause there and start to relax and breathe into that stronger sensation. We're not going to stay here for a really long time. Let's take 3 more breaths. Relax a little bit more. So notice you probably have contraction through the thighs. Let it go. Now, without uncrossing the legs, let the feet or the shins go, whatever you might be bound with. The left foot's going to come down. Let's turn this into a twist. So shift the hips towards the right, and then just start letting everything fall over towards the left. If you can draw your left shoulder out and let your right shoulder get heavy, feel this through the side body as well. Big sigh as you find a space for your arms to lay. Let's take one more breath here. Okay, bring ourselves back to center. We're going to unravel the legs so the feet come to the mat and then realign your spine. Take a moment here. And then let's move to the other side. So we're going to wrap the left leg over the right. Pick the knees up towards the chest. And again, moving the feet out towards the sides of your mat. See what's available for you to take hold of to deepen this a little bit. Maybe shins, maybe ankles, maybe feet. Mindful of feet, you want to draw too much on the outside edges of your ankles and lengthen out that ligament, but that can feel nice too. So just be mindful here. And then you have that exploration where you're moving really slow until you find that really juicy spot that feels so good to reach into. And then just pause there and use your breath with a sigh to relax the legs, the thighs, especially, as much as you can. And if you feel that really juicy spot kind of let go and dissipate, then you can move just a little bit again. I promise it didn't go far. Notice if your shoulders are rounded forward here, and just sigh and let that disappear. Let them get soft towards the floor. One more slow breath. And without unraveling the legs, just come back to center, release the feet, and let the right foot come back down towards the floor. We're going to scoot your hips towards the left, and then the knees in this eagle twist fall towards the right. Now always shift and move. Draw your right shoulder out so that your left shoulder has space to get heavy. Let the breath go as the arms find their home. Let's take one more breath right here. Bring yourself back to center. Let's unravel the legs. Realign your spine. Take a breath. And then we're going to take a last little bit of core. No, I'm kidding. Take hold of your block. We're going to come into waterfall just for a few breaths. So take your block. We're going to bend the knees so the feet are on the floor. We're going to press into them just enough to place the block on its lowest level, just like we did at the beginning, underneath your sacrum. Bring your knees up towards your chest. Maybe you stay right here. Maybe this feels like a beautiful space to rest, and you just pause here. Or you can take your legs up into the air and let the legs be neutral. We want to see if we can stack the ankles over the knees, knees over hips. So this takes really no effort as we stack the bones of the body, and we can just let all of the prana or the chi, the fluids, the bloods, rush back down towards the heart. Hands can move away. They can even reach up overhead and feel that really nice opening through the upper body as well. And some people struggle here in this shape. I find it really hard to have my knees bent here because I'm using muscles to stay. Now, if tight hamstrings hampers you there, then that's a different thing. Maybe your hands come to the knees just to help stay. But find a spot here that feels really good. The legs don't have to be anywhere in particular. They're not glued together. They're not open. The feet aren't flexed or pointed. They just are. 3 more really intentional breaths. The deepest of your practice. If your hands are anywhere other than alongside, bring them back. Maybe you take hold of your block for stability. We're going to bring the knees towards chest. Let them come back down to the mat. Mindful the mat might feel really far away, so just move carefully. We're going to lift up enough to remove the block, set it aside. Any last movements, knees to chest, windshield wipers, anything at all before we find our way to Shavasana. When you're ready, find your shape, your space, whatever relaxation shape is going to feel just perfect here. The eyes close. Come back to that intentional 3-part breath we started with. Belly rises, ribs open, and the heart lifts. Let the chin move away from the chest. Notice it as it leaves. This time, as you bring the breath all the way up to the top of the heart space, let's pause here as full as you can be. Relax everything while you're paused. And when you're ready, take that big sigh and just let everything go. Starting to bring your awareness back to breath. Slower, deeper inhale starts to re-energize you again. And then we invite movement, fingers, toes, move the wrists and the ankles. The head drops side to side. And then let's take that good morning stretch. So reach the hands up, point the toes long, big breath in, open everything. Feel the ribs lift out of the hips, shoulders open, and then side out and let it all go. You can take some windshield wipers with the feet on the floor, bring your knees to chest for a hug, whatever movement feels good as you continue to move and wake up your energy. And then starting to bring yourself up towards seated. Let the sit bones be heavy, lift the heart, shoulders, melt back. Last quiet moments of practice here, just to breathe in that buoyant energy that we just stirred up, all the open spaces in the body. Hopefully you feel really good, really strong, really energized to move into your Sunday. Then bring hands up to heart. Just drop the chin, a moment to honor your practice. Have my gratitude for joining me this morning, allowing me to guide you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Namaste.